This is a really different podcast than normally. You hear me talk English. Most of the times it's Dutch, of course, but we're going to do this in English the best I can. But today we are in Volt, my own place, of course. Still working here, yes. We're still open, and that brings us to one of the bands that are playing here. For 30 people, sold out. Will Fairhead and the Gulls. I'm saying that right, isn't it?
Gull.
It's more, yeah, of course. I can't. Gull. Okay. Sorry if I just say it wrong, but
that's all right.
We're gonna try this. We just recorded 2 videos. We're gonna edit and release them later. If you want to look at the video of this podcast, that's possible on YouTube and Facebook, and you'll see me standing and I'm turning my back to you. Sorry, people, but then I can look at those 4 guys. That's easier to have a conversation. And I'm standing and they're sitting for everyone that's listening. I want to have a little bit of vibe, but we are in the main hall of Poppodium Volt because we just recorded here. That's easier to do the podcast here as well. But I wanted to chat with you about what's happening these days, because we should have met over a month ago, I think. That was the original plan. But then the UK happened with some difficult stuff. But maybe let's start with a short introduction of each other. And
I'm Kilian. I play the bass in the band.
I'm Bob. I play the drums.
I'm Will. I do the singing.
And the guitar.
And a bit of guitar.
I'm Eddie, and I'm the lead guitarist and rhythm guitarist.
And some vocals as well.
And a bit of backing vocals, yeah.
Yeah. So 4 guys on the road with music.
That's right.
We heard that before.
But not like this.
Not like this, exactly. But that you can hear on the session videos or just YouTube and listen on Spotify to the EP. Is right? EP. Yeah. Now we know all of you a little bit, by name at least, and what you're playing. How did the band become a band like this? How long ago was that?
Well, we all came together, the 4 of us, in January this year. So
that's new.
Yeah, that's pretty new.
Fresh out of the package.
Yeah. So it's been new. I've known Kilian for a couple of years. We met playing in another band in London called SharQ. So we played together in that band, and then late last year, I asked Kilian if he would join me for a concert that I was putting on. So Kilian started playing with me, and then I met Bob in the Northern Soul again in London, a blues jam. And we had a play together that night, didn't we?
Yeah.
If you don't talk into the mic, nobody will hear you.
Yeah, basically how I met Will was completely out of the blue. Like we just turned out to go to the same session on the same night, which was basically maybe already written in the universe that we should meet there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if we didn't went to the same session on the same night, I would have possibly not be here, and Will maybe also. We would still have been in London, maybe, who knows. So yeah, we just met at the session on a Tuesday night in London, in North London, I remember. And then we just had a chat after we played, I guess.
Yeah, we fell in love.
We fell in love, yeah. That's when the magic happened. And then we had our first rehearsal with Kilian in December, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And then Eddie joined in January. I'd known Eddie for about a year or 18 months because he's a fellow Northerner, you see. So I think we first bonded over gravy and other...
Yorkshire tea.
Yorkshire tea, yeah.
I actually let you down as your bassist. You were going to bring me on as a bass player before. Was it for the same...
Yeah, it was either bass or... I think it was drums, actually.
I don't know. I think it was bass.
Was it?
Yeah, it was bass guitar, yeah.
I don't know.
But I don't remember, because I used to run this jam night in Camden, and I remember you coming over a couple of times and we had a bit of a play and I played a bit of drums for you. And it was quite an interesting dynamic difference that just came in, it was quite interesting. But then come sort of the new year, 2020 came,
he rang me up. Will rang me up and asked me to play some lead guitar. Yeah, I was like, because at the point I was quite, didn't really like saying yes to a lot of things, but then I felt like a new person in the new year, and I thought, right, I'm going to start saying yes to more things, and good job I did, because now I'm in the band, so here we are in Holland, and yeah, it's great. So there you go.
But when you start asking those people, meeting those people, do you have something in mind that the sound should be for the future? Or is it more like together, the four of you, yeah, we want to be a band and maybe this is the sound? Or how do you create a sound like this?
Well, I think, you know, I'd been playing solo for a few years, so I suppose my songwriting had matured quite a bit, and so I was in a position where I had something myself. And then when the fellas started playing with me, because they're all really sympathetic, very amazing players, we were able to sort of, they were always supporting me, and also as a collective we started to grow. And then really the sound that we have now is a combination of everybody's feeling and everybody's kind of style, and certainly for me, I'm playing a much broader spectrum of music with these guys than I was ever able to play by myself, you know. So I guess it's kind of come organically, you know. Everybody's chipped in, and then we've got to the place where we've got just because we've played a lot together in a short space of time. So we sound a bit more like a band that's been around for a while, I think, than a band as new as we are.
And are those songs new songs you written together, or are they from your previous years as a solo artist?
Most of them are new. We do still play some songs in the set which are a bit older songs of mine, but a lot of the songs that we play are songs that have only come into being since we've been together. And some of the songs, as we grow, there's a bit more collaboration with the songwriting that's happening as well. So I think we just need to keep playing and developing and see where we end up, you know.
And if you talk about playing a lot of gigs in a short time,
yeah,
that has to be January, February, and then somewhere it ended.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we thought as well. But that's where the whole Impossible tour came in August, because we had this idea like, okay, Corona is fucking up actually almost everything, and why is it not an idea to maybe just go against the stream and try something different and try to maybe arrange gigs ourselves and see and get opportunities out of places that we visit.
What was allowed in London or in the UK, for that matter?
Not much.
What was allowed?
Yeah, because we had a short lockdown that was just everything went from 100 to 0, but then building up slowly again, pretty quickly maybe.
Yeah, well, I think that was how it was in England as well. I mean, it was sad because we'd started to become you know, really close friends as well as bandmates, and then we had to split up for a while. You know, Killian, you had to go back to you know, the south of France. Bob, you came back here to Holland, and then me and Eddie,
I moved to you.
yeah,
In the big world.
yeah, and so there wasn't much going on, and I think we started to get a bit of an idea for how to go forward. Once Eddie and I, we started playing on the streets a bit during the lockdown.
Okay.
We did this thing in England called the clap for the NHS. So on a Thursday night, people would come out of their houses and they would clap to thank the health workers. Mm-hmm. And so Eddie and I ended up going out on a Thursday night in our local community and chatting with neighbours that we'd never spoken with before, and playing music, and so what happened was we managed to pull together a whole community of people on a Thursday night. Socially distanced. People were still scared, but the music was doing what it should do, which is bring people together. And I think it was very good for us as well, wasn't it, Eddie?
It's quite funny because we had no idea that what we were going to be in for before we started doing the gigs, and as we started to sort of get to know who lived on the same road as us. Rupert, who lived in one of the houses, he happened to have a PA system, and he happened to play drums. And then his neighbour, Stuart, happened to be a bass player. And then a few doors down from that was John Spaniel, the piano player. Yeah. And then so on and so on. And then by the end of it, we had a 10-piece band, neighbourhood band, joining us on
Full
the street.
Orchestra.
And it was just really cool, and we did some few covers and a few of your songs, and then we ended up.
But this was all allowed.
Well, it was. I think it was.
Okay.
It wasn't not allowed what we were doing, but I think in communities right across the UK, especially on a Thursday night, there was a call for something to happen. People were locked up, and still now when we get out and we play on the streets, there are people who get emotional because they haven't heard live music played in that way for so long because they've been locked up. So I can't tell you the full legality of it, but what I can tell you is that it was the right thing to do.
It was necessary.
It was necessary, yeah.
People needed it.
Yeah. And well, the result was that Eddie and I, we were doing what we should be doing, which is playing music. And for our community, they had something to bring them together. And so that was the seed which gave us this idea that maybe we could go out into the world at this time and rely on ourselves and try and bring music to people despite the circumstances. We're very lucky that we're playing here tomorrow night, but there just isn't this option for musicians at the moment to do that. So we had to figure out how we could make it work just ourselves. And the cool thing is that all of these guys are all badass. And all risk takers, and all caring as well. Not just right there, Killian, we call him the Gypsy King. we had to get Killian on the road. Like he's the Gypsy Master on the road, and I think all of us are seeing that. You know what? You can go back to basics because this is what musicians have done since time began. Medieval troubadours traveling from town to town. Nobody knows who they are, but they turn up and they create something and then they go. And that's what we have to do until the world is done changing, or it's changed into whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's of course it's a beautiful what you just said, because a lot of small bands are trying things, but the bigger bands are just quiet. They're like, we can't go on tour, bye, and they just change everything for a year or 2 years and gonna be quiet. It looks like sometimes a live stream or charity event, of course, but not okay. Let's help the community go to people and do a show, whatever that means. I mean, I understand that if you're a Beyonce or a U2, it's of course difficult to do it that way. Yeah. But it can help a lot of people because you're bringing the music to the ones that are needing it right now.
That's right.
So that's beautiful. What you just said. You go to tour the Impossible Tour, part 1 normally. What was the idea to do? Just the UK traveling around, or
well,
all world touring? buying an own plane and
Yeah, basically a
Corona-proof.
world tour, but obviously that didn't happen. No. The idea was to go to the UK and move from there, like start from our home base, which is London, obviously, and then move from London towards the countryside, and then eventually cross the Channel and go to mainland Europe, where we would have had the gig here in Volt as well, and then I also already arranged some gigs in Berlin, and then we also might have gone to France, where Killian is from. But then eventually, just a couple of days before we actually started touring, we had like a band meeting somewhere in Camden and met with the team. And then literally the same day or the day after, I don't really remember, the Dutch government announced the UK government announced the new quarantine rules for people traveling from the UK to Holland, that they all have to go into self-quarantine for 2 weeks when they came back, which is still present at the moment. So basically, that all shifted our plans completely, and that's why we decided to stay in the UK. So we basically toured throughout England and also a bit of Wales, and basically we filled 3.5 weeks and played quite a lot, and also sometimes even 2 times a day. So we made it work in our own way. And now for part 2, the Impossible Tour Part 2, we actually had to move to the mainland Europe, because in the UK nothing is possible anymore because of the new restrictions they have there.
Yeah, it went the other way around. It was just like
Exactly.
From 100 to 80, 60 and less, and now it's 0.
Yeah.
And we are building up slowly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, next Tuesday maybe everything changes again. We don't know, but we have to look
This is
at
kind of the whole reason why we've done this whole tour, because we haven't been able to. The part of the Impossible Tour is that we kind of haven't really got a plan, and we haven't really had any sort of direction. We've had pinpoints that we've met, for example, this podcast and the show that we're going to be doing tomorrow. But my brain. Carry on.
Well, we don't have a set route or a plan as such. We just know what we can do, and it's trial and error, so we figured out in the first tour that we can go from town to town and nobody needs to know who we are. We can turn up wearing very subtle outfits like this, and people will look at us, and then we can set up on the street where there are people already, and we can play, and we can get that vibe going on the street, and we can get people interested in what we have to offer. And so we arrive in a town, we look at where in the town would be the coolest place to play, and we try and organise some kind of gig, some kind of concert in town. Because in the UK, when we started out on the Impossible Tour, you could still do concerts in pubs. Most pubs wouldn't do it because they're scared.
Yeah, of course.
And it's understandable because the government in the UK has given themselves a great deal of power. So they can close down a venue or a pub like that.
Yeah.
If they call the coronavirus, that's it. They can get rid of it.
That's the same here.
And so pubs are scared. But there are, I have to say, and if you eventually when our documentary comes out, you'll see there are some badass people still in the UK who can still put things on in a safe way.
Yep.
This is the thing. None of it is unsafe.
No, but that's also the same here. We talked about a show for 78 people, and that's just the bigger version of this room. That's the same seating plan, 1.5 meters between 2 people and stuff like that. But they're just allowing us 30 per room. So that's the max capacity. Even if you are the biggest venue in the Netherlands with 17,000 people, 30 is the max. Well, it sounds so strange, but of course you have to put somewhere a limit, because otherwise it's going to be all the way and everyone is, but there I can do 2,000 people and there they only allowed 5. Yeah, of course, but that's the space you have. That's the difference. But if you do it in a pub, most pubs in my mind are also smaller than rooms like this and have maybe a different ventilation or something like that, a different airco. So it's always difficult. So it's really great to hear that some pub owners are just like, just do it.
Yeah.
Let's keep it safe
Yeah.
the best we can, because there's nothing really safe, of course. There's always a possibility to caught the virus or something. But that's how it goes, of course. But you were saying mainland Europe, so that means if the Netherlands decide something tomorrow night, it can ruin your whole trip for the rest of the tour.
Yep.
Or something in Germany was saying you're not allowed to go to these parts, and you are at that moment at that place. That's good. Give a
This
lot.
is kind of the reason, like going back
That's
to
why it's impossible.
What I was going to say, this is the impossible tour, and the thing is we're doing it not because all these rules they put in place, they can't really make their minds up that what they actually, how they're going to do this. There's certainly with the government majority of governments, I guess they can only do so much, and I understand what they're trying to do, but on this side it's so much harder, because what does a rule mean if you're changing the rules every day? If you're changing it all the time, then it becomes something that people aren't going to play by that, and it's not going to stop us in our path, really, because it doesn't make any sense.
just make a clear rule for whole of Europe, and we'll follow.
But I understand, it's kind of like a balance, because they can only do so much.
But you came last week to Europe, or the week before?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Bob called me. Yeah, we want to do some promotional stuff in the region, and we found out really quickly that is impossible because of some rules. Playing on the streets is not allowed in the Netherlands. It's always been a pain in the
We
ass.
discovered that as soon as we got to Holland.
Yeah.
Found it harder.
So you decided to go to Germany, right? What did you do over there?
We just did the same as in the first tour for the first week. So we just traveled to different cities, play in the street. We didn't really get any concert in any pubs. So mostly
However,
play in the street. However, for the second week.
Yeah.
What happened?
After you.
Well, we had this idea to organize a big gig ourselves, like maybe in a barn, in a farm or something like that.
Yeah.
And we were in, which city were we in when we talked to?
We were in Couplands.
Right, so we were in Couplands, just parked outside somewhere, and we were looking for electricity for the van to charge the batteries and all of that. And then you met
Jamel, yeah.
Who basically told us of a location in the forest where it's like a communal area, like community area.
Mm-hmm.
And he told us that we should go there, pretty much.
Yeah. And then we went there. Yeah. Well, he said, I think if you go there, you will stay 1 week. And I thought, no, we're not going to stay anywhere 1 week. We're on the road, we're traveling around. But the thing was, well, like Killian said, we were looking for electricity because no one would have us to stay. We can't go to a campsite with our vehicles because they don't accept English people at the moment because of the virus. So we needed quite a few things. And so when Jamel told us about this place, we headed there. And on the way there, our gear van broke down because it was such a we had to climb this mountain up the side of this mountain to get there, and it was crazy. And so it was a bit hectic getting there, but eventually, 1 week later, we were still at the place, and we managed to put on our own concert because at this place in the forest, they've built a stage overlooking a field. It's a wonderful place, magical, where through the summer, communities, they arrive there, and the owners, they don't charge anything. They say, you come and you help with anything that needs help. You maybe donate some money to chip in, but it's a very old way, a more ancient way of surviving. And so we went there and we spoke with the owners, and they said, okay, you guys can put on a concert. So then we went to the local towns and we played on the streets, made ourselves some money, told a few people about the concert, said that there's going to be this concert in the woods. We're arranging it ourselves. We can make sure it's safe. You know, we took control of it ourselves. And then, on Saturday night, we had this great concert in the woods, and we brought people there safely, and had a wonderful night of music, and it was all outdoors, you know. So round the fire, you know, lots of fireplaces to keep us warm. It was fantastic.
And Will also had to play the role of taxi driver at one point to bring people to the concert as well.
Yeah. I had to pick up some people, and there were people there who had never been to a concert before, you know. So that was their first experience of a concert, being picked up.
But that's surreal.
Yeah, and taken to the forest in a motorhome by a guy wearing a silly coat. You know, that was their first experience. So
You have to start somewhere.
you do,
Better can be this. Yeah.
yeah.
So that means you're been not traveling around as much as you thought you would be.
Yeah.
Not as much as doing the possible 2 parts.
I think your microphone is off. Can you switch it on? Yeah, exactly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Huh. We didn't travel as much as doing the Impossible 2 Part 1, because then we literally drove to another city almost every day, I guess. Like, or we stayed like only for 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah.
But obviously the circumstances were also a bit different than this period where we're living in right now.
Yeah. And I think a thing that we set out on this tour with the intention that we would experiment, and we would see if we could put on a proper concert, because we have all our gear. We have full PA system, we have lights, we have all the backline. So when we play on the streets, we play with a simple setup, and it's great. People love it. They help us with money. They follow us online. It's great for our music, and it's brilliant. But we have the aspirations as a band to put on the best, most memorable concerts that we can put on, and nobody, apart from a few places, is going to help us do that. So we set out with the intention that we would put on our own concert safely and make the best of it. And we achieved it. And it took us 7 or 8 days at this one place to do that. But it was our first time doing that. And I think that as an experiment, it was a success. And I think it gives us more hope for the future, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how many venues are going to be left after what's going on with this coronavirus. So it might be that musicians have a more greater responsibility than ever before, not just to play the music, but to work hard and arrange, you know, bring people together to a safe place, a place that is going to give them hope, you know. And that's what I think we're going to move towards as a world.
It's a whole different view on being a band, being a musician, because normally it's just I write music, I play a song, I do that there on a stage, and I release it online, and that's my job.
Yeah.
And now it's more like working more active to get that job, to make it possible, literally, with a stage or a light or a PA.
Yeah.
And it's a big step for a lot of bands, I think, but that you're being on that path already and being this forward already, you're one of the few touring bands. I mean, that's of course
Probably the only.
no, not the only. They don't get that credit yet because
Don't tell us about that. We want to be known as the only.
but you might be one of the only touring bands across Europe that are traveling to different countries. Because in the Netherlands we have tours. There are still tours going on. There are still bands that doing proper tours with 7, 8 dates in different venues.
Yeah.
But there are Dutch. They stay in the Netherlands and they play here, but they don't go outside to a different country and with different rules. And that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like trying to get on different in different regions and different rule settings and what's possible everywhere. tomorrow, and I have to check the date. It's the 23rd of October. That's a sold-out show in Volt. I can still keep telling it's sold out, but it's 30 people, but it's sold out because that's on the poster.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Of course, that's going to be a great show indoors with the safe settings, but a total different thing than being outdoors in a field with a beautiful. This we can say a lot about Volt, but that's not a beautiful view. It's a different view.
Depends what ladies come and watch us, really.
No, but if you look at the wall, come on, that's not the best wall ever made. No, but
I'm still looking for a hair and makeup crew if there's anybody out there who'd like to join the gang.
So I have to release it really quickly, and then they have to listen to it tomorrow morning, and then maybe around noon someone will stand in front of the door. Who knows?
Yeah.
No, but what's next then? Are you still have some shows in the weekend, or are you going to France afterwards, or what's the plan?
Well, in terms of what's next, well,
Not a clue.
yeah, we don't know exactly. And
We
the
just kick you
impossible
out
tour.
tomorrow evening, and you'll be off again.
You kick
Yeah,
us out,
yeah,
and we'll
we'll
probably stay in the car park. You know.
no, we don't know exactly where we're going to go. We know there's a few places we'd definitely like to go. We'd love to go and see Berlin. You know, we'd love to get there at some point. But I guess our kind of big hope is that at the end of this tour, whenever it may be, we're going to be able to get recording. You know, I think we're ready to record an album. We've got enough songs, and we're never going to be more together than we are right now. You know, so I think wherever we end up over the coming weeks, hopefully we're going to find ourselves in a recording studio eventually and spend a couple of weeks there, because that's where I think we're going to get the real payoff for all this hard work that we've been doing.
And is that studio on this side of the borders or back in the UK?
Well, we'll have to see about that. We might.
There's nothing booked yet.
No, there's
Okay.
nothing but yet. We've maybe got a few things that could happen.
Options,
So we
yeah.
just need to we need to work on them and see where we go.
So that gives you still room to go on the tour, still traveling for the next few weeks, and
Yeah.
after that, find a place where you can do it
Yeah,
and bring it all together in an album.
yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be great.
Yeah, and basically what Will just said about like not knowing what's going to happen after, for example, this Friday, that basically is the whole philosophy behind the whole Impossible tour, that we actually don't know what the hell we are doing, and just follow.
Playing music would be a great start.
Yeah, that's what we try. Yeah, that's what we do. But more in terms of like where we go to, what we're going to do there. So it all just happens in the moment. Just like, for example, the concert that Will just described in the woods also just happened in the moment. We had this idea of like setting up our own concert, and then this happened by complete coincidence, and we bumped into the right people to put it off. And that's basically also another great example of the thing that we are doing. And I had a chat with that about Will a couple of weeks ago, that actually what happens when you do something that is not really normal, and that's a little bit strange maybe, you also meet people who want to do that extra little bit for you because you do something that is really not like normal, and they want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of this kind of experience. And that's exactly what also happened in the woods last week, I guess, and what also happened lots of times during the Impossible Tour Part 1 in the UK. So that's I think that's quite a beautiful thing that we already witnessed a couple of times.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful that you are setting your mind together as a band and as persons separately, that this is possible, and still call it the Impossible Tour. But that making things happen is always just finding the right way to do it. And of course, this is a different time, and it's a difficult time, and everyone is scared. But music, as you said before, Will, it brings people together. And if it's standing outside clapping for the volunteers, for the health workers and other people that are important at this moment, that's a possibility. But the people that have to stay at home for 6 months, and didn't hear any music, it's also important to hear music again, because it's bringing so much life to your own life and others' life. Let's wrap up here, because I have to do another different podcast somewhere else in the Netherlands, so I have to travel again and record a session. So for the people that are listening, you can expect 2 podcasts in a short period of time, and I'm going to record the next one on Saturday. So it's 3 podcasts in 2.5 days. But they can find you on socials. I will put the links in the description, of course.
Yeah, and speaking about socials, tomorrow the concert will also be live streamed on our Facebook page as well.
I will write that down in the description as well. But
Cool.
that means that you only can, if you hear this on the 23rd, then it's tonight, and otherwise you missed it. And are you keeping it online, or is
Yeah,
removed?
it will be saved.
So you can look back and search for the date on the Facebook page of the band, and you will see the full concert at Poppodium Volt with a sold-out seating plan of 30 people.
Yeah, and you know, if you follow us online, then there's going to be all kinds of interesting things that you're going to be seeing, because we've been recording and documenting this whole journey that we've been on, and we've been recording our own live performances recently in some very special locations. So there's going to be a lot of really, really cool stuff to listen to and to watch and enjoy. So if you give us a like on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, check out the website, you're going to find
The
out
more
all
links
about
you
it.
name, the more I have to put in the description. You know that. That's more work for me.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry about that, Sheree.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
You've worked very hard for us already, and but like Bob was saying about going the extra mile for people doing strange things, well, you're another example of someone
Thank you.
who's
Yeah.
willing to do that.
Always try to make it possible for bands in every way that I can,
Yeah.
and with my own limitations, of course. But yeah, where I can help, I pleasantly do. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for this podcast. Links in the descriptions, and watch the live stream live or back again.
Or if you're a time traveler, you can go ahead and
You can watch it now, can't
yeah, you can watch it now. In
Yeah.
fact, yeah.
Everything is
You can
possible.
watch
in the
it 2
impossible
weeks
tour.
ago if you wanted to.
Okay, let's wrap up. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
for the listeners. There's a new podcast almost ready for you, so you can listen to that one as well. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.